भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाभूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। The nectar of life is Srimad Bhagavatam. It sustains us, it gives us the glimpse into reality, and it separates us from illusion. And thank you and welcome back. Let us read. Can any of you start reading chapter 14?
Yeah, sure. Hare Krishna. Pregnancy of Diti. Overcome by passion, Diti entices her husband Kashyapa to unite with her at an inauspicious time. He tells her that as a result, she will give birth to two powerful demons. Sukadeva examined Parikshit's face for signs of fatigue. Despite not having eaten, drank, or slept since the previous morning, Parikshit could barely conceal his excitement. Please tell me what else transpired between those two great souls, Vidura and Maitreya. Sukadeva smiled. Like you, my dear king, Vidura had taken a vow to hear about Krishna. Thus, with the folded hands, he too begged Maitreya to speak more about Krishna. Listen as I continue to relate their conversation. Maitreya leaned back. His demeanor was relaxed and jovial. A fine spray from the nearby waterfall kept him cool in the late afternoon sun. Seeing a quizzical expression on Vidura's face, the sage encouraged him to speak. Vidura said, I have heard your authoritative account of Hiranyakashipu, the first demon in the universe. Hiranyaksha, the first demon in the universe, being killed by Lord Varaha. Why, though, did the demon attack Varaha while he lived the earth? Please explain this to me in detail, for I have great faith in the benefit derived from hearing the Lord's pastimes. Maitreya placed an approving hand on Vidura's shoulder. As a Kshatriya, it is understandable that you like to hear about battles. Your desire to know more about the Lord also benefits a great devotee. Any mortal being who delights in hearing Krishna's pastimes is relieved from the chains of birth and death. Just try to understand the power of such narrations. While only a 5-year-old child, King Uttanapada's son, Dhruva attained enlightenment by hearing about the Lord from Narada. For this reason, at the end of his life, he entered the spiritual world in that self-same body. Vidura looked surprised. How is that possible? Maitreya said, at the appointed time when death approached Dhruva, Krishna's attendants came to take him back to the spiritual world. They arrived in a majestic Vaikuntha aeroplane and invited him to climb aboard. Death personified knelt before him, offering his own head for Dhruva to use as a step. Dhruva thus attained the Lord's abode without changing his body.
Wow.
Vidura's eagerness to hear about the Lord increased. Pray tell me everything you know about the battle between Lord Boar and Hiranyaksha. Who was this demon? How is it that the Lord himself slew him? Maitreya said, in a previous age, the gods similarly asked this of Lord Brahma. I too heard his reply. Listen now as I repeat that narration. Diti plucked some of the large golden flowers from the champa tree to decorate her hair, and their sweet, spicy fragrance aroused her desire. Picking up her water pitcher, she glanced at a reflection in the clear river water. She smiled. Surely her husband Kashyapa, the exalted son of sage Marichi, would not be able to resist her charms this evening. She walked towards her husband's ashram, her hips swaying from side to side, her mind imagining her husband's embrace. Tonight she would conceive. Her body was ready. The rays of the setting sun cast a golden glow over Kashyapa's muscular physique. The sacrificial fire created a diaphanous veil of smoke that shrouded his handsome features. Diti's passions increased as she approached him. Her uncovered hair spread over her shoulders. Coming closer, our hearts sank in disappointment. He was in a meditative trance, his eyes closed. This happened every evening, and still their marriage had not been consummated. Frustrated desire made her bold. This time she would not be deterred. Abandoning the attempt to belugue, belugue him with her beauty, she tightly embraced him. Learned one, Cupid is distressing me forcefully with his arrows. See how my body trembles like a banana tree shaken by a maddened elephant. She stroked his face. You should be kind towards me by showing me complete mercy. Kashyapa's eyes opened wide. This was unusual behavior from Diti. He cupped her hands in his and asked what she wanted. I desire to have sons. I am distraught that my co-wives all have children while I remain childless. She moved her face close to her husband's. By uniting with me, you too will become happy. Kashyapa pulled away, jumping up. Diti's head fell, and she sobbed. A woman is honored in the world by bearing her husband's offspring. You will also become famous by conceiving children because you are a progenitor. Kashyapa stroked her head. She was right. He was duty-bound to expand the world's population, extending his arms. He lifted her up. Letty turned her tear-streaked face towards him. In days long ago, my father, the most opulent Daksha, was affectionate to his daughters as each of us who we desired as our husband. Discovering our intention, he gave 13 of his daughters to you. Since then, we have all been faithful. Kashyapa smiled, wiping away her tears with the end of his cloth. She and her sisters had served him lovingly for many years, complying with his every desire. How could he neglect her now? She was distressed. Diti moved closer to her husband, her voice a husky whisper. Notice-eyed one, kindly bless me by fulfilling my desire. When someone in distress approaches a great person, her plea should not go in vain. Kashyapa looked into her lotus petal eyes. She was exquisitely beautiful. Her parijata perfume was bewildering. With great effort, the sage controlled his mind. This was an inauspicious time to conceive. He needed to comfort his wife, but distract her until the ill-boding twilight hours had passed. The sage took a deep breath. O afflicted one, I shall soon gratify your desire, for a chaste wife helps her husband live a religious life and thus achieve wealth, sensual pleasure, and ultimately liberation. As a man can cross the ocean on a ship, similarly, he can traverse the dangerous ocean of material existence by living with his wife. My dear respectable Diti, a wife is so helpful that she is considered the better half of a man's body. As my wife, you benefit from the sacrificial rites I perform. In return, you take responsibility for all the household duties so that I am able to freely engage in my spiritual practice. Nadi's face became downcast. Her husband had pursued spiritual advancement for many years. Now she needed his embrace. Would he deny her? Kashyapa raised the corner of his mouth in a half smile. Of course, I will unite with you, my dear wife. The senses are like plunderers who can rob a man of his virtue. You are the commander of the fort, and by taking your shelter, I can subdue the senses. Unmarried men have no legitimate means of subduing their lust and run the risk of becoming debauchees. Becoming hopeful, Diti moved closer to her husband, but he gently held her shoulders, keeping her back. My dear queen of the home, I am unable to repay the debt I owe you, even if I was to dedicate both this life and the next to satisfying you. Indeed, all the saintly guests you have served over the years are also indebted to you. Diti's face flushed. There is no need for such a lengthy conversation. Please satisfy me, as I am suffering. I will fulfill your desire for a child. Please just wait for the proper time so that others will not criticize me. Diti frowned. Why would anyone criticize him? They were married. There was no sin in their union. Kashyapa said, this particular time is most inauspicious because fearsome ghosts, Lord Shiva's companions, wander about. Diti seemed not to hear. Her eyes were glazed. Strands of hair fell loosely about her face, and her ruby lips were slightly parted. Kashyapa felt his resolve weakening. He must not succumb. Not yet. He needed to explain the seriousness of the situation. My dear wife, Shiva is a lord of the ghosts. During the twilight hours, he sits on his bull carrier and travels accompanied by ghosts who follow him for their welfare. Out of compassion for his followers, Shiva places them in the wombs of women who engage in intercourse at twilight. Nidhi clasped her husband's neck. Let us go to a cottage where none will see us. Kashyapa tried to resist. Do not think we can go easily. Do not think we can so easily escape Shiva's vigilance. The sun, moon, and fire are three eyes. No one can avoid his vision. Diti snorted. Who is Shiva in comparison to you? Why worry about him? You are a powerful Prajapati. Although my younger brother, he is far greater than me or any other living being except for Lord Vishnu. He is even more powerful than Brahma. Do not underestimate his greatness just because he does not live pompously or possess anything. He is always pure despite living in crematoriums and smearing his reddish body with ashes from funeral pyres. Do you not know this? He is, after all, your brother-in-law. Diti ran a finger over Kashyapa's face. I'm suffering too much to fear him. There's no reason for you to afraid either, my dear husband, as you are his relative and respected for your eminence. Taking a deep breath, Kashyapa said, my dear wife, Shiva does not especially favor anyone. He sees everyone as connected to him. To him, no one is particularly respectable, or commendable. Rather, I worship him and condemnable. Rather, I worship him and accept the remnants of his foodstuff as prasadam. This is so sweet, right? Like the magnanimity of Lord Shiva and how nicely he's seeing every soul as equals. So beautiful. Diti said, I have heard that, smeared with ashes, he coverts with women and ghostly beings. Kashyapa scowled. Only unintelligent people speak like this. Hear the truth from me. Although he acts like a devil in the association, of course, his character is impeccable, and he is a role model to saintly persons. No one in the material world is greater than or equal to him. His real purpose is to serve Krishna. Following his example, Vishnu's sincere devotees attain salvation. The less intelligent do not know that Shiva always meditates on Krishna. He considers that the scents for flowers, cloth, and ornaments offered to him are really meant for the worship of Krishna, his master. Therefore, he does not enjoy them himself. Wow, that's so beautiful. Unfortunate people who criticize Shiva are addicted to worldly luxuries. They do not realize that one day they will die and their bodies will be fit to be eaten by dogs. Kashyapa's voice softened. My dear wife, you should know that I'm nothing compared to Shiva. Even Brahma and other principal gods follow religious rules ordained by him, such as the prohibition against sex during twilight. Shiva is the husband and controller of Durga, the personified material energy. I think something changed. Yeah. Yeah. The cause of material creation. He is great, and his renunciation of material enjoyment is the ideal example of detachment. His ghostly antics are incomprehensible to mortals and should not be imitated. Niti seemed not to hear him. Her eyes were glazed with lust. She shamelessly pulled the cloth tied around Kashyapa's waist. Kashyapa felt the warmth of her body next to his. She was not she was not to be deterred, and he could resist no longer. The time was wrong. But it seemed that all powerful fate had decreed their union at that moment. Standing up, he led Diti into their cottage. Later that evening, Kashyapa silently left his wife's side and walked by the faint moonlight to the river. Standing chest high in the warm water, he intoned the holy Gayatri mantra. Left alone in the darkness of their cottage, Diti sat sighing. She had acted like a prostitute. Kashyapa must be furious. Wrapping her sari around her delicate frame and tying back her tousled hair, she stepped out into the night. There was no sign of her husband. He must have gone to the river to purify himself. She ran after him, and her heart palpitating. Seeing him immersed waist deep in the water chanting his prayers, she too bathed and then waited on the river bank. After some time, Kashyapa emerged from the river. Ignoring his wife, he walked silently back to their cottage. Her face lowered, she followed him. Diti remembered her husband's admonition about Lord Shiva. That powerful deity was easily angered. What if he caused her to miscarry? Catching up with Kashyapa, she said, "My dear Brahmin, kindly pacify Lord Shiva so that he will not kill my embryo. He is the Lord of all living entities, and I have greatly offended him. But surely he will not refuse your prayers." Kashyapa said nothing. He continued to walk towards his cottage. Diti folded her palms and began to pray. "Oh, my Lord Shiva, I offer you my obeisances. You can surely make me weep because you are quickly angered. Thus, you are known as Rudra, the ferocious god. Yet I know that you are also called Ashutosh, the compassionate fulfiller of desires. My lord, you can certainly chastise me by destroying my embryo, but out of your mercy, you can also fulfill my desire for a child. Because you are all auspicious, it is not difficult for you to forgive me, although you are no doubt displeased and ready to punish me." Kashyapa walked steadfastly on, refusing to acknowledge his wife. Diti's bosom heaved. In a choked voice, she addressed Shiva's wife. "My dear Sati, you are my younger sister. Kindly petition your husband on my behalf. Remind him that, like all virgin women, I would daily worship him in my youth. He knows very well a woman's temperament, and he is famous for showing us kindness. Please beg him to forgive me for not controlling my passion. Even uncivilized hunters excuse the misbehavior of emotional women." Reaching the cottage, Kashyapa abruptly turned to face his wife. Seeing the stern look in his eyes, Diti trembled. She had never seen him so upset. By her uncontrolled lust, she had no doubt offended him by distracting him from his evening prayers. Her head fell. She deserved to be punished by Shiva. If her husband remained angry, how could she elicit the god's forgiveness so that she might give birth to a healthy child? Kashyapa's features softened. The distraught Diti was plainly contrite. Still, the outcome of her rash act would not be auspicious. She had disregarded all the conditions required for good progeny. Looking her in the eyes, he said, "Unfortunate woman, you will give birth to two ill-omened sons. Because your mind was contaminated with lust during conception, your sons will be cruel-minded. Because the time of our union was inauspicious, they will be ferocious. Because you ignored my instructions, your son will have no respect for religion. Because you cited Shiva, they will hate the Supreme Lord. They will kill poor faultless creatures, torture women, and enrage the great souls." Diti winced as Kashyapa continued. "However, the Supreme Personality of God, the Lord of the universe, who is everyone's well-wisher, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes mountains with his thunderbolts." He turned and entered their cottage. Diti followed her husband into the cottage. She sat by his feet and began to massage them. "It's very good that my sons will be slain by the Lord himself," she said. "They are fortunate." This is like ultimate, like how is she thinking about this?
Yeah,
They are
she's finding
fortunate.
something positive finally.
Yeah, what do you say? A silver lining in the cloud, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Mm.
They are fortunate that they will see his beautiful upraised arms holding his chakra killed by him. They will certainly attain liberation. On hearing, they would anger the great souls. I feared they might be killed by the Brahmins. A person too fearful to others whose cursed by a Brahmin is not shown mercy even by the residents of hell, or by those in the species where he takes his next birth. I'm grateful they will be saved from such fate. Wow, so she's feeling like it would have been even more worse, but then, wow, what a saving grace.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, it's very wise to always weigh our situation and try to see half glass full. What can
Yeah,
we do,
I'm
right?
amazing. Yeah, I'm amazed to see the positivity. Usually, women like they wail and they cry and they're like, they feel like so devastated. But maybe she's so ashamed. She's not addressing that kind of the emotions in the heart, but she's
Devotee.
like she's looking
It's
at
a devotee.
the strong positive things.
Yeah, I mean, the devotee always sees Krishna's hand. Always she's thinking, oh, they will see Krishna's upraised arm. Oh, they'll be killed by Krishna, not by anybody else. Oh, at least, like she's a devotee, so she's thinking of all the devotional opportunities, even if it means to be killed by Krishna.
Hmm. Yeah, so beautiful.
Devotees are always
Yes.
thinking of connection with Krishna, right? Anything that is connected to Krishna. They're not concerned about anything else, but they're concerned about Krishna's hand.
Yeah, really beautiful, very beautiful. Kashyapa, who had lain down to rest, sat up and addressed his wife in gentle tones. I am pleased with you on 4 counts: your repentance for your misconduct, your proper discrimination regarding what will be auspicious for your sons. Wow, that's good. Yeah, just amazing. You're talking. For your sons, your unflinching faith in Krishna and your respect for Shiva and myself, I will therefore give you a boon. A son of your eldest son will become a great devotee of Vishnu. His fame will be broadcast equally with that of the Lord. Wow. So I'm just thinking, like, he's so powerful, he can even give such wonderful benediction. But just before she did all this, like, before she's repenting, he's not even trying to change the course of what would happen, right? Actually, he could have also given a boon, okay, become the mother of 2 great devotees. But then it's like he just let the course of what fate had, what Krishna's will had to happen. And then he's giving a blessing. Like wow, that's also wonderful, right? He could have also blessed her, okay, have 2 sons, 2 devotee kids, but he doesn't do that in the beginning. It's interesting to know that.
Well,
Also,
because
yes, Mataji?
rules and regulations, that there is the timing, there are other demigods involved. It's not like Kashyapa will interfere and just get his way through the situation. Okay, there's a time and the consequence will be there. But then he can change something that will be for the future. You can't change the past, or you can't change the present also. You can only work on the future. Even
No,
Krishna
no,
does that.
before.
He honors.
No, but he was like asking her to wait, right? So he could have also said, like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, how he gave the boon for the grandson to be the child to be like a devotee. Like, he could have said, yeah, maybe you have like, oh, but he knew it can never. His words will not be upheld because of that inauspicious time. Okay, getting it. Now I understand. Got it.
Also, I mean, in Bhagavatam, it's written, or in the shlokas, it says that he actually said, okay, this is fate, this is destiny, and he kind of gave in. It's not exactly out of human weakness like that. It was more like he knew something great has to. I mean, not anybody can give birth to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Even that is the will of the Lord. Although in this particular description, it's not mentioned like that, but I mean, that is the will of the Lord that these two souls have to be born. No, the cursed Jaya and Vijaya, not anybody can give birth to them. So happening by the will of the Lord.
Yeah, in one sense, both of them are great souls. Yeah, they're demons,
Yeah.
but then they are great souls, right? Extremely great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Although your grandson will be persecuted and tortured by his father, he will never bear him enmity. Rather,
Mm-hmm.
he will pray for his salvation. In the future, Krishna's devotees will follow his example by practicing freedom from animosity towards those who harm them. Wow, beautiful. As gold is purified by impurities by being heated, similarly, devotees will become pure by following in your grandson's footsteps. Wow, Jai, he's a Mahajan, right? He
Yeah.
will always please Krishna. Since the Lord is in everyone's heart as a super soul, all the gods will be pleased with him. Wow. Indeed, your grandson will be the topmost devotee of Krishna. He will constantly meditate on him and glorify his activities. He will thus easily attain the spiritual world after quitting his material body. He will be a reservoir of virtuous qualities, happy to see others happy, distressed to see them suffer, and will see no one as his enemies. Some of the first teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, don't see any enemies and friends. Like, wow, so beautiful. Just as a pleasing moon relieves one from the sun's heat, he will deliver the universe from sorrow, both within and outside of himself. Your grandson will see the lotus-eyed Krishna, whose face is decorated with dazzling earrings, his wife is the enchanting goddess of fortune, and who assumes forms according to his devotee's desire. Diti's face lit up. This was a wonderful benediction. How kind was her husband to bless her with such an exalted grandson. It was also a blessing that her sons would be killed by Vishnu. After all, the Lord's acts were absolute. Even those slain by him attained liberation. She bowed her head at her husband's feet and then, with his permission, lay down to rest.
We will end there. We'll just make a couple of comments. Yeah, it's very interesting that whether it's any of these great women, right, Vedic women characters, it wasn't in their nature to sit down and lament and live in the past. It was where Vedic women meant that understand that there's nothing you can do about the past, and you try to do your best in the present. And she's having hope about the future. She's having, as Kashyapa said, she's able to determine and distinguish between, okay, what is auspicious for her son and what's not. Any other material woman would say, what, Vishnu will kill my children, but why they can't live eternally? I'm just saying, like, you are so powerful, why you can't protect our children? They were like lament. I have seen people come like for astrological consultation, and then when I say something like, look, your child, recently I did some reading and I was saying, look, just let your child just be, she's not like so much into academics and this and that, just let her be, let her be happy, let her dedicate her life into doing what she likes doing, she's an artist, let her be. And the parent was freaking out, no, everything you're saying is wrong, other astrologers have said she's going to be great and she's going to become very this and that, and she's going to be great this and that. And I was just like, okay. They're not thinking what's beneficial for the child. They're just thinking about themselves, like what makes them proud parents or something. And they mess up the children's lives sometimes. But here in this case, Diti, even though it's such an extreme situation that the children will be, her own son will be torturous, and they will torture women and they will torture saints and they will kill innocent people. Can you imagine? But she is focused on the goal. She's focused on the